Anna.
Don't you dare insult me, okay?
Mama Endo,
Don't you dare.
Haya, kwani ni vita? Nini wewe? Yaani wataka kumpiga? Huwezi mpika mpige nini?
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
You are not my mother, neither are you my woman. Sawa sawa.
Yes, Julia umesikia? You are not his mother or his woman, so keep off.
Achieng are supposed to be the head of the family, please.
Chabo.
If these are the leaders of tomorrow, then we actually do.
Hey, come on! It's going to be our routine.
I have to tell you something.
Fine, you can tell me when you're seated.
Kinanjui, what have you done?
Ashisia, can you help out here?
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
On the next episode,
miradi ya utoaji maji safi kote nchini ni muhimu katika kuimarisha maisha na mapato ya Wakenya. Mradi wa bwawa la Thwake ni mojawapo ya miradi iliyoanzishwa chini ya uongozi wa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta kwa manufaa ya wananchi. Wiki hii kwenye Project 254,
hiyo maji mahali tunapata kwa kwenda hiyo kilomita, saa ingine tunakutana na hii mnyama inakaa kwa maji, crocodile.
Katika project ya Thwake tunazo tunnel mbili. Wakati ujenzi tunnel hizi zitatumika kubadilisha mkondo wa mto.
Hiyo stima itasaidia kwa sababu kama stima itatoka hapa kwa wingi, hakuna mahali patakuwa hapana stima.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Hivyo takuniambia ubuda amepotea na mabagi yetu, sio?
Ndugu yako Yusuf na Abdalla ni ndugu yako Yusuf. Sasa haina haja mgombane. Unaona bwana? Kwa sababu ugomvi huleta hasara.
Yale ya impeachment ya governor. Kabisa ndio hayo. Tayari tushaongea na MCAs. Shida iko wapi bwana? Tayari hivi ninavyokuambia kuna motion ya kumimpeach. Na ndio hivi tunaenda kuishughulikia.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Where do you think you're going right now? The car that you're currently driving belongs to me and to the company you chose to resign from.
And someone got paid very handsomely. And don't you find it strange that my mother's earring hasn't turned up?
Did you sign a prenuptial agreement with Bianca?
What are you trying to imply here?
You went to the house of Guillermo Arredondo? Don't tell me your uncle sent you to investigate.
A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is KBC Channel 1. In case you're just joining us, you're just in time for News Check on this 10th day of the third month, the year 2021. It is around this time, especially this week, just the other day, on the 8th of March 2021, we were all marking the International Women's Day. And a better part of this particular weekend, in this season, in this month, we're going to be highlighting some of the issues that women are going through, and of course just looking at it in a triumphant journey, sort of trying to look for the way forward and address some of the grievances women could be having, women who are seeking opportunities in different spheres of life, those who are seeking leadership positions, those who could be in, you know, the remotest parts of this country and they are dealing with different issues, women in agriculture, women in business. We know that women are doing so much in the society, but we all agree we've come to a point where as a society we've taken responsibility to the fact that we have not been fair to these women, and so many things happen in the society that act as bottlenecks for these women to thrive in the society. And today we want to focus on some of those issues as we talk about women in leadership, a conversation that is coming just a few days following the by-elections that took place in several parts of the country just the other day, and we saw the chaos that erupted in this particular exercise, and a lot has emanated from those incidences, especially how they impacted women and those women who are in leadership positions or those who are seeking leadership positions. And that is what we want to talk about. What is the status of women in leadership? What are some of the issues that could be stopping women from thriving and becoming leaders? And how do we suffer as a society from the fact that we fail to give women an opportunity to serve? How are women affected? How is the entire society affected by not having women leaders? That is what we want to talk about in studio this morning. I will be letting you in on the panel that I'm having. It's a ladies talk show today, so it's something that you do not want to miss later on. But right now, it's a program also that usually takes you to different events as they happen in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and other parts of the country. And we have our reporter's diary to just give you a glimpse of what our reporters are tracking for you this morning. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. Of course, we just want to kickstart our conversation right away, and I want to introduce my panel this particular morning. It's a panel of two ladies, very able ladies who are doing a lot in terms of addressing some of the issues that I mentioned. They are leading at the forefront in just helping women thrive, helping women have access to their rights in different spheres. I'm talking about none other than Mwanahamisi Sigano. She is the head of programs at Femnet. Thank you so much for creating time for us. And of course, this morning, I'm also having Gloria Oroba. She's a political strategist. Thank you, Gloria.
Asante sana.
All right. Looking good, ladies, I must say.
You're looking good, too.
All right, so let's begin straight away. Okay, it's a few days from the International Women's Day, but probably in the interest of fairness, I'd like to give you ladies a chance to just share something, you know, concerning this particular season for women. The hashtag and the theme was choose to challenge. What are you choosing to challenge, Mwanahamisi?
I think that's a good place to start with. Personally, I'm choosing to challenge stereotypes. I'm choosing to challenge the ideas that has been embedded in our society for so long, that women need to justify for everything that they want, while the opposite is not the same to men. Women never asked, why do you want to lead? Women never asked, why do you want to work? Women never asked, why do you want to own this? But when it comes to women, always we need to justify why women should lead, why women should work, why women should have access to this. So I'm choosing this particular year to challenge all the stereotype and wishing for the different stakeholders, for the government to know that women are also human beings and they have the same right as everyone else.
And for you, Gloria, what are you challenging?
Thank you so much for having me. I choose to challenge the patriarchy in our politics. I choose to challenge the fact that it is almost common knowledge that women should not be participating in elective politics, and we should just help them a little bit with these nominations and things like that. I choose to challenge the fact that in my county, Kisii County, we actually don't have any elected women member of parliament. We don't have any elected actually, we only have one MCA who's a woman, and other than that, and the women rep, we don't have any elected leaders in Kisii. I choose to challenge the ideology that we have down in Kisii County that women are not leaders. Yes, and for me, that was the hashtag. And being a young woman who's actually vying for a member of parliament in Bobasi constituency, I am definitely looking forward to the day that I'll be sworn in so that I can show all the other women who have been wanting to come out and are afraid of this status quo, this patriarchy that is in politics, would actually now feel that, okay, you know what? Actually, we have a chance.
That's really nice of you ladies, such inspiring words coming from you this morning, and all the best, Gloria, with that journey. And that will form part of our conversation.
Exactly.
It's not a rosy affair if you're a woman and you're vying in our Kenyan context, but we will try to demystify some of the issues that women go through as they're trying to thrive and get to positions such as the one Gloria is pursuing. I choose to challenge the sorry state women have been placed. Women have some sort of, at times, you feel like you need to apologize for being a woman. When you're looking for opportunities, you feel like, I need to be given this opportunity because I'm a woman. You feel like you're belittled, so you deserve to be taken care of, to be given, to be granted. I choose to challenge that, because we do not have to apologize for being women. We are equal beings in the society, and we have our rights, and we do not have to just allow what is rightfully ours go away just because we feel that society has not given us this opportunity. So I choose to challenge the sorry state we have found ourselves in as women, and challenge women to come out, dress up and show up. It doesn't matter.
And exactly, I think to the point, to your point, I think also the other interesting thing is, to what you said, you're choosing to challenge women feeling that they've been given up, and the impact of it. And I think it speaks to the patriarchal nature, that it's really ensure that women feel they're given as a gift, so that they can behold and they can continue to serve the people who have, quote unquote, given them the position. So it is part of the system where you feel that you owe this person because you have been given this, and you have to be nice to them. In a sense, you perpetuate the same cycle of patriarchy, oppression, and being undermined. So I think it's not by accident that women feel that they have to be given, they have to be helped. It's the part of the narrative of sustaining patriarchy system.
Yeah, true. So as we're marking this season, I was just thinking about it the other day. If I was asked to list some of the things that women ought to be celebrating, do we have anything? If you look at the society, if you look at the woman in Africa, the woman in Kenya, does she have a reason to celebrate?
Yeah, I mean, let's not paint a doom and gloom picture. We have gotten through some milestones in terms of just empowerment of women. When I look at communities, particularly the underserved communities, the slums, and the sensitization that we've gone out, the advocacy in terms of even issues such as gender-based violence, going out to say it's okay for you to speak up when, you are in certain situations. I think we should celebrate the fact that that women are now more aware of their rights. Women are particularly Kenyan women, are now more educated in terms of how do I get myself empowered economically? How do I get myself empowered socially? How am I going to get at the table in terms of governance and policy? And even just now when we're talking about politics, when we look at Kenya, yes, we are suffering a lot, but let's not forget that we've come from a place where we had no women in politics. But until women such as Charity Ngilu happened, until we had Martha Karua, you know, we have some sort of milestones that we must celebrate, and we must be able to appreciate that in a year like this, particularly in certain communities, such as the Kisii community, a young woman like me can dare to step,
to step.
So those are the things we should celebrate.
We will talk about that.
Yeah.
Mwanahamisi, allow me, just hold that thought a little bit. I'm coming back to you in a bit. I want our viewers to just follow up on some of the issues we are tracking this morning. And this particular morning, the Energy Senate Committee, chaired by Senator Ephraim Maina, is meeting with delegates from the energy and petroleum sectors and the ministries. This is happening at Serena Hotel in Mombasa. Let's just listen into what is happening before we come back and commence our conversation.
The theme for us, and we have had barrages of actually questions and pressure. Just before the Senate came to an end, Mr. Bonasias, I can tell you we had one afternoon where, of course, let me say, everybody was up on us, and I was the one on the floor of the House regarding the connectivity, especially in the western side of Kenya. I don't know what the issues are. So these are some of the things we may wish to understand and know what is being done. Then, we must say that Kenya as a country is blessed with many resources for renewable energy. Of course, solar, wind, etc., and the hydro. And the whole world is moving to renewable energy. But we are still seeing all these so-called thermal power plants and the co-development. We may wish to understand your policy regarding moving towards renewable power as the world is moving towards that direction. In the recent budget statement analyzed by our committee, funds were requested for coal exploration. Bonasias, we would like to understand what is this country's policy on energy, because we understood we should be shifting from this kind of power to renewable power. Then there is the issue of, which I may mention, of 40 transformers, and we hope this has ceased. I've said, this committee has said again and again, things like transformers, personally I don't understand, should be a question of tendering, Bonasias. I feel we should procure things like transformers from the best in the world. Earlier on, I can't tell you, and I stand here. I'm one person who was so proud as a young man about Kenya Power. I actually just failed by a very little chance joining Kenya Power, because I really, it was one of the flagships of this country. Now, this issue at that time, I can tell you, I was not an engineer, but I think hardly would a transformer have to go wrong. And I am not saying this for any challenge, but we should procure, if it is a transformers and the other gadgets, for national projects that are of great security and national importance. They should be procured from the best. I keep on saying from Germany or from Britain. But when you go somewhere in a village in Pakistan and buy a transformer, I'm not sure you know what you are buying, whether you see it was out of a tender. To me, I think even government should look at that policy, and we will be here to assist you and actually back you when you need to be. Because when we are dealing with our national issues, we should sometimes disregard pricing. Bonasias, I want to believe that once and for all the issue of
Senator Ephraim Maina, the chair of the Energy Senate Committee. Currently, there is a meeting of delegates from the energy and petroleum sectors and ministries in Mombasa County, and we will be staying close to that particular function to give you details about what is coming forth and how it's going to impact your life going forward in case you're a stakeholder in the sector. In studio on News Check, we are having a very important conversation that is coming just a few days after the International Women's Day, but we are looking at the road ahead, especially for women who are thinking or even dreaming of vying and becoming leaders, not even just in the political space, but even in other spectrums. I'm having two ladies as my panelists this morning who are painting the picture of how the situation is and what is it that needs to be done for women to thrive in the society. I'm talking about Mwanahamisi Sigano. She is the head of programs at Femnet, and also Gloria Roba, a political strategist and an upcoming member of parliament.
I love that.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Yeah. So earlier we were talking about what a woman in Africa, what a woman in Kenya needs to celebrate, even amidst all these challenges. And Mwanahamisi hadn't given you the opportunity to paint that picture of hope for a woman who is watching you this morning. What is it that we should actually be celebrating? What is the positive side?
I think first, I really need to start with acknowledging the position of women. Often than not, we look at the position of women from, for example, post-colonial to now, and the picture might be doom. But if you look to pre-colonial society, African society, women were an integral part of the society. Women has led in different societies. The first army, it was the Home Army, which was all women army. Women played critical role in trade. Al-Madrui has beautifully documented in 3 heritage documentary the position, for example, of women in Senegal who were selling, were in the market, they are the brokers, etc. So the pre-colonial societies in Africa had integrated women, and women were part and parcel of it. With introduction of colonialism, things changed, and women's position had changed. And we are now coming back from now the post-colonial. Women have been post-colonial, being seen as just a household or a property of men, to put it bluntly. And because of that, they have been denied their right. They have denied their existence. They have denied their dignity. And it was from that era now, when we gained now our independence, and I should say, different women and the number of women who have taken active role in the colonial and in freedom struggle are so many, and unfortunately we are not documenting them. So when we are celebrating, it is important as well to recognize that we did not start as a society, because there is also this idea that women leadership is foreign agenda. Women leadership is imposed to us. But in reality, we had women leading in our community. So we are just going back and making it better. And we should acknowledge that the years between colonialism and post-colonial has been difficult for women. For women had to assert back and claim their position in their society. So we had a lot, as Gloria said, we had a lot to celebrate. We had women who have been president in the continent. We have women who are leading ministries. We have women who now are leading institutions. And we have seen the change that come with that women leadership. So increasingly, if you look at the statistics, the maternal death is going down. Women in the labor force is increasing. The quality of leadership as well is increasing. And if not of all those efforts of the women who have fought tooth and nail, all of us wouldn't have been here, possibly, yeah, from the society that I'm coming from. I would be a housewife somewhere by now, washing and worrying on what food to cook, you know, for the family. But because of the work that our foremother has done and the position that they had claimed, we have earned that a right for us to be here. And I think it's our obligation as well to ensure that the rights that we have, the next generation, have a stronger right and have stronger choices than we do have. And that's why we are doing the work we are doing now.
Yeah. And you remind me, talking about washing utensils, we celebrate women. We celebrate women because, you know, them that actually just had to give up a part of who they are to stay at home and do something and nurture and bring up a society like the ones we see today. Our mothers who probably, based on the fact that there was no education, there was no technology, did not have that strength to fight for what was rightfully theirs. They gave up a part of them for us to be where we are today. We celebrate even women who balance it out, being in the kitchen and being out here showing the world what they have. And it's not easy. But let's talk about leadership. Gloria, you are in that journey. First of all, let's begin from why it took us so long as a society, or why it's taking us so long, depending on how you look at it, to embrace women leadership. It's not easy for women who've even attempted, not just being at the heart of it, them who have attempted to become leaders in various spheres. They will share very sorry stories with you about how difficult it was to break that ceiling. Why is it that way? From where you sit?
I think what we suffer from as a community, as a country, is our cultural mindset is that the woman is actually a weaker sex. And in terms of, you know, when you look at basic things, which side of the bed should the wife sleep? On the other side, because the husband should sleep on that side, because, you know, if we are attacked, then the first person who should be able to, you know, wake up. And, you know, it's small. It starts with very, very small things, like, you know, what side of the table do you sit? Which side of the table does a man sit? In most of our communities, we even have things like if we are going to have chicken for dinner, women are not supposed to eat certain parts of the chicken. You understand?
Taboo.
Small things which actually have indoctrinated the society to believe that a woman is such a weak living being that, you know, we must do everything to protect them, which in a sense is kind of comforting that the society is trying to protect the woman because she's so soft and so, you know, sensitive, such that we can't put her in a position of leadership. I think just coming from that ideology, how women have been looked upon from back in the days, you know, to coming to a sensitization place where we are starting to understand that actually, you know, you can have all the money as a man, but if you don't have a woman with you, they are not going to, you know, you'll buy a house, but you won't have a home, because there are certain elements that a woman brings to the table, whether it's the soft skills or whether it is the value adds here and there. They call it the flowers. You can go to an office and know that there's been a woman here because, you know, there'll be flowers there, there'll be like a picture frame, you know, the soft skills that women bring, because that's something that, as much as we are out here trying to fight for empowerment and what, I value the fact that I can put on lipstick and just be a woman and come on set. I don't want you to take that away from me. I don't want you to take away the fact that I would like for someone to open for me the door or pull my chair. Those are things that as a woman I am happy to have. And as a woman, I truly believe that my place really is not just the kitchen, but I don't want you to take away the fact that I want to cook sometimes, you know. So when you were talking about we have fought so much to be on the table, there's some women who are just happy being housewives. Yeah. And what we should be fighting for is not so much to be at the forefront and to be in power and this. We should be fighting for the right and for the freedom for any woman to choose that I actually have the skills to put a family together and I want to stay home and have children and be a mother. That is really what I aspire. They should not be looked down upon because that is what they are good at and that is what they aspire to do. Now, what we are fighting is for those women who aspire to get out of the kitchen and move to the boardroom, but they're looked down upon in the sense that sasa wewe umewacha your husband nyumbani who's going to cook for him and things like that. So, you know, I don't subscribe to this feminism kind of action movement. Women, we come together, we must fight. No, we are not at war. We are not at war with anyone.
It doesn't have to get to that point.
We are not at war. In fact, what we want to live peacefully with our men. And you know, the problem of pushing this ideology of we are at war, we must fight, we must go to the forefront, is that what happens is, as we are empowering that girl child, as we are empowering those women, they end up in a situation where they're so empowered, then we've forgotten about our men, our boys. I have a 13-year-old son who I do not expect at one point, I expect he's going to start looking for a wife at one point. And you know, I don't want him to suffer looking, where can I find a woman who wants to be a wife? You understand? So as much as we are pushing for this empowerment of women, we must be very cautious on how we approach the situation of how do these empowered women then go back to the society and are able to live in peace with the rest of the members of that society who happen to be men.
Because you cannot do away with the men.
No,
they play a pivotal role in the
I can tell you
society.
for a fact, my pillars, and I'm sorry to say this, especially after 2 days after International Women's Day, but my pillar, the people in my life who I look, who are my rocks, who I go back and cry to, are men. Simply because there is this other culture where women fight women. So it's very difficult for a woman to actually get a mentor who's another woman. So I will tell you, my husband is my pillar, and other than that, there are people I do business with who are my pillars, and they happen to be men. So I don't want to be waking up in the morning to go and fight men. No, I want to be able to live in a society where men understand women are empowered, and they're free to choose whether to be a housewife, whether to be the president, whether to be in politics. But then there should not be this notion of women, let's go out and fight these men, because that's not what we are intending to achieve with this.
All right. Hamisi, how do you look at it? This concept of women empowerment. She has touched on a very hot button. Let's go away from the negative energy of women to fight for our rights. We're here to fight. You know, how do you look at it? How should we go about it? Women empowerment.
So I think just to put it there, I'm a feminist.
All right, so talk to me.
Yeah, I should declare that, and I'm African feminist to be exact. And I think with all this debate, it has been there, like over and over again. So if you look at patriarchy, patriarchy is a system of oppression, which privilege men. We have said it clearly, documented. If you read African Feminist Charter of Principle, it says the fight is the system of privilege, which happen to privilege men. And this system, unfortunately, is perpetuated by men and by women. So my question will be, especially to this debate, whether we are not fighting, and I'm asking Gloria and possibly you, how could a man or woman in that case take arm against injustice without hurting the unjust?
Wow, that's for you, Gloria. I'm not anywhere near that question. You can answer.
So the thing is, in the process, privilege being taken from you hurts, because everyone enjoys privilege. While the battle and the fight is for the women, is for the women to be a full member of the community. I don't think.
Just stop right there. I don't want us to lose it.
The question?
Yes. How can the just fight without hurting the unjust?
Yes. How can a man or woman take arm against injustice without hurting the unjust?
How, Gloria?
You know, we underestimate the power of soft skills, and we underestimate the power of being a woman. Just me sitting here in a dress with my lipstick, there's such power in my presence as a woman that we tend to go out to arm ourselves with other things. Let me get this degree, let me be in front here, let me do this so that I can use that to fight the injustices. Well, all I have to do is step into a room as a woman with my feminism that I have been given by God and say, gentlemen and ladies, I would like to be a part of this discussion. I've not hurt anybody. But with the soft skills that I have, with the demeanor that God has given me as a woman, with my it's called feminism in the right sense. Just by requesting certain things, do you know there's such power in that than walking into a room and saying, I have to be here, I have a degree in blah blah blah, I'm a woman, it's time you stop, underestimating women. Are you getting my point? But there's so many other ways to approach the issue of injustices against women in different industries than being confrontational. Of course, there are situations and circumstances, particularly as I speak in politics, there are definitely situations where you need to stand on the table and scream as loud as you can and say, you have to listen to me. Yes, there are those kind of situations. But often, I'm always reminded by my husband, do you know that you gain so much by using honey than by using poison to get something out of it. It's so much easier for you to get the things that you're asking for if you're nice and if you're a woman.
And women know how to do this.
And we know
Let's
how
be
to do
honest.
that. We know how to do that.
They women know how to do this.
Yes, they definitely do.
But she says something very important. At times you have to be confrontational. At times you have to really, really insist for you to get something.
And I think to me, what is interesting, being in the forefront for so long, advancing women's rights and protecting it, what is uniquely different, for example, with the injustice to women and injustice overall? If you ask today anyone in this continent whether it could have been an option for our African leader just to go to the colonialist and start massaging them, to allow us our independence. You get what I mean? None of them would have said that was not an option, And we justified the excessive force that we have used to regain our freedom as people. But when women want to use even a tiny of that, it seems too excessive for their freedom. So everyone has the right for their freedom, and they can use all forces that they are. And coming back to the question of women doesn't like each other, women doesn't support each other, this world has been ruled by men for as long as we can recall. All the wars in this world have been fought men fighting men. We haven't seen, at least in my years that I've been in the world, I haven't seen women taking to war to kill thousands and hundreds of people because of their ego. But we have seen that happening to men. But when men fight, it's sovereignty fight. When women fight, it's the business deal fight. When women fight, it's because of the political differences. But when women have different argument, it's because women doesn't like each other. So the system of oppression and patriarchy is so intertwined, and it justifies, and it made it possible for us to sit here and debating on minute issues and narrative rather than confronting the bigger picture. So to me, I think back to the question of why it feels that the fight or the work that we are doing is against men is because I think anyone, for example, there have to be one person hosting this show. If that person is taken away, if, for example, we said, you have been hosting this show for too long, it's about time now we give a person with a disability a seat. As a person, it comes from a very good positive, that we have never had a person with a disability, leading a show. It's the time to do that from a purely point of inclusion. But to you as a person, that privilege of you having the show has been taken. And chances are you'll feel hurt. It's a human nature. So it's because of that, the privilege taken from men, because we have to share that privilege. And that's what contributes to this backlash. So to your point on leadership, the spaces of leadership, for example, our government has categorized number of constituencies, number of seats, etc. It's becoming harder and harder to get those elected seats or contested seats to women, because to them, if one woman has to get in, one man has to drop. The seats are fixed. And that's why, for example, often than not, they will tell you, you have your special seats. Like, go there. Like, to us, like, leave this to us. So the mainstream is for men, and for women, you will come from the back door. So it has been institutionalized even in our structures, in our system, and in our thinking. And I think, to me, that is important point to debate, but also to start questioning and unlearning our own biases and unconscious bias.
I'd like to know, what does the society lose by not giving women a chance to lead?
I want to answer that by saying, you can't lose what you never had. So it's like saying, oh, you know, if you've been, I've been raised by my father, you know, and people say, but you know, it must be so hard, you know, you not experiencing certain things that, you know, you would experience if you are raised by your mother. And I always tell them, you know, you can't miss what you never experienced. So, you know, the society actually is very oblivious of what women can bring to the table in terms of leadership, because most of them have never really experienced it. So if you say, like, what does Kenya lose, you know, by you know, why are they not seeing the advantages of electing, for instance, we are now going to the Building Bridges initiative, and they are going to be the expansion of the executive, and I've been questioning, why are they not leaving you know, there are 2 deputy prime ministers, why can't they put a caveat so that one of that seat actually goes to the woman? And people say, oh, you know, you have to participate and this and that, and it's because simply, you know, you can't miss what you never experienced. So, you know, we can't miss having a woman prime minister. We've never experienced, so we don't know what that means. So we can't miss it. If you go to communities such as where I come from and you tell them, guys, you're missing so much on the leadership that women bring, they can't. They don't understand what you're talking about. They've never experienced it.
This is so unfortunate.
Yeah. So I think the issue that I want to really bring to light is, as much as, yes, there is an institutionalized system, a patriarchal system that has actually, even sometimes I speak and I realize, oh my goodness, I have been, it is in my mind that I am a weaker being, you know? It's been put into the minds of our children, it's been put into the minds of the adults who are there. We kind of are just walking zombies, and we know this is the place of a man, this is the place of a woman. But as much as we're trying to address that, I really have to speak to the point that these societies exist. We have men and we have women. And I can tell you, for the last 15 years, we have pushed on the gender empowerment initiatives only towards the female, only towards the girl child, only towards the women. Because, of course, we are coming from a place of, like she said, we are coming from a disadvantaged place, because the system has been against the women and against the girl child since the systems existed. But now we've reached a place where you can imagine a whole generation, because if you're talking 15 to 20 years, we're talking about a whole generation that has just grown up in this awareness of women are this, they are empowered, the girl should go to school, you can do this, you can be a doctor, you can be an engineer.
So the gender debate...
But we've forgotten completely that the boys exist. And we've forgotten completely that once we are empowered and we are presidents, you know, who are we going to govern? Are we going to govern men that are committing suicide, men that are going out butchering women? You know, who are we going to get? Like, finally, let's say, for instance, and I will get the seat in my constituency.
You will?
Yes, I will. I'm going to be sworn in come 2022. Now, let's talk about that. And then I go there, and my whole campaign platform has just been on how we must defeat the men. You get the seat. Those men constitute of around 48%. So who are you going to govern?
All right.
It's going to be war.
Let's do this. Gloria Mwanahamisi, we're just going to be taking a very short break. We are coming back to pick up from there. The gender debate has been, you know, made to be about the woman. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We'll pick up from there when we come back. Allow us to take a very short break right here on News Check at Serfine_Achieng is where you can communicate with me directly at KBC Channel 1. That's also our official social media handles. We are coming back after this break.
I want to inform you that the Ministry of Health has confirmed the first coronavirus case in Kenya.
And so it began, the pandemic pain. Kenya had reported its first patient zero. The pandemic could redefine human interactions with devastating effects.
We have suspended learning in all our education institutions.
1 year on, there is a glimmer of hope, but the COVID-19 curve remains unpredictable. The disease is mutating. and fatalities rising. Can scientists stay 2 steps ahead of the virus?
What we have received here is equivalent, metaphorically speaking, to acquisition of machine guns.
Is the vaccine the silver bullet? This week on Channel 1 News Hour, we look back at the turbulent COVID-19 journey that is now the new normal.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
If I wasn't here, it was because you didn't let me know, huh?
Come on, stop it, please. I was calling you and you never picked up any of my calls. And I sent you 1,000 messages telling you what happened.
1,000
Yes,
messages?
1,000
I had a
messages.
call 20 minutes ago, Amaya, and I'm here.
Stop lying. Don't talk to your daughter like that, Cipriano.
I talk to her as I want, period.
Well, you can yell at me all you want, but you won't make me quit from El Paraíso.
That is if he survives the operation, yes.
Might he die in the operation?
Unfortunately, yes, madam. Why didn't you tell me that your husband works in Nescafe? And besides that, he works very closely with my brother Cesar.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Your dream of a united India will be fulfilled very soon.
This is a lie, Father. The truth is in front of everybody. And the truth is that you pushed Sushim. Wasn't it enough for you to take away his rights, that now you want to kill him as well? How have we wronged you, Ashok?
Brother?
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
You are not my mother, neither are you my woman. Sawa sawa.
Yes, Julio umesikia? You are not his mother or his woman, so keep off.
Men are supposed to be the head of the family, please.
If these are the leaders of tomorrow, then we actually do.
Hey, come on! This can't be our routine.
I have to tell you something.
Fine, you can tell me when you're seated.
Kinanjui, what have you done?
Shisia, can you help out here?
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching News Check. In case you're just joining us, this program seeks to explore issues that are shaping conversation in the country, and also we give you live updates on what is happening in Kenya today. And we are talking about a very, important topic in our country, women in leadership. It is very timely because we're in that season where a lot of decisions are going to be made in the coming months. And we are just tracing the journey of women in leadership in this particular country and looking at even Africa as a continent, just sort of looking at the scorecard on what we have done as a society to embrace women leadership. And I'm having this conversation together with a panel of 2 ladies, Mwanahamisi Sigano, the head of programs at Femnet, and of course we're also having this morning Gloria Orwoba, a political strategist. Thank you so much, Gloria, for creating time for us, and Mwanahamisi.
Thank you.
Before we took the break, we were just beginning to dissect the whole journey of gender awareness, advocacy for gender. And Gloria, you pointed out something very significant on how this conversation has been made to be about women, to be about the girls, leaving the boys and the men behind, leaving them out of the programs, the policies that sort of ought to fuel this whole process. I don't know, Mwanahamisi, from where you sit, how do you feel this is affecting the progress we are making in attaining even the fruits of gender equality in the society? Leaving the men behind, how is it hurting
where? Because I think
I feel like I directed the wrong question to you, but
Because I feel if you look, for example, I don't know if you have seen a recent what they called AU family picture, yeah, where the head of the state every year they meet in the AU, they do a family picture. If you see that African Union family picture, it's men except one woman. So women have been left behind where?
It's the men, they've not been left behind, that's
where?
What you think?
Yes, where are men left behind?
But in this campaign
if you look
for
at the
gender equality,
CEO of the biggest companies in Kenya, yeah, are men left behind. If you look at the political machineries in Kenya, for example, are men left behind. If you look at businesses, at private sector, everywhere you could imagine, are men left behind. Because to date, men make either 100% of the political executives in the continent to 80%. The same statistic run around private sector, in the boardroom, etc. So the ideal has been we had an equal world where one gender was given privileges, yeah, in expense to another gender, right? So the efforts were made to untie and unchain the gender which has been undermined and structurally ripped out of their right to be a complete member of the society. And that's what the effort has been about. So to me today, if you are saying men have been left behind in politics, the president is men, the vice president is men, like everyone in the top chain are men. So where are men left behind?
Right.
So I think the conversation
let me
needs to move a bit. We do understand, for example.
I believe what you meant is the men are being left behind in the process of
attaining
empowering
gender equality.
the women. By that, it's not about in these spaces. For instance, yes, we are on a journey of ensuring we have this gender equality, but we are only using women, feminists. We are coming out as women to fight for our spaces. Yet the other strategy that we can use is having these men as allies in terms of influencing the change from that side of the table, which for me would be, it's not an easier option, but it's a more impactful option to get a man to actually go to his fellow men and tell his fellow men, by the way, in 2021, there are some of these things that you do in boardrooms that you need to stop, than having a woman coming to a room full of men telling them, now from today you are going to listen to me. So I think the impact of getting allies in men in this fight for gender equality would be higher, and is actually higher, than coming out strong as one gender seeming to attack the other gender.
Mwanamisi, would you like to respond to that? Can we win alone as a block of women without bringing men on board and, addressing this issue of gender equality? Do they have a role to play?
If you ask me, for the years that have worked in women's rights, I don't recall an incident where we have not worked with men, right? If we go today, all the work we are doing, for example, with the Kenya government, to get endorsement or push their agenda, at the end of the day, it ends up, for example, in Uhuru desk to make a decision. And we have been doing that because the structure itself is men-led, and women have been working tirelessly to dent that structure and to flip and to alter relations of power. Why women are not becoming allies, why women are not buying to that agenda is part of the challenge, because they're not ready to give out the privilege. So to me, I feel it's disempowering if women have to shy away from the pain that they feel because they will be seen they're fighting. For example, I'm in no position to tell you how your shoes hurt. I'm in no position because I don't know it. It's not on my feet. It's your right to tell me I cannot do this. It's your right when you feel that you need to change that shoes to demand so, right? And I think part of the narrative, we have been making it, while everyone has the right to fight and to express what they feel and to demand their right, for women to do that, you assume you're too aggressive. So I think one. And second, I want to go back to the conversation, what do we lose by not having women leader? I think there have been a number of research across the board, which has put evidence on the table that we are losing so much for not having women leader. For example, ILO, Oxfam have gone to the level of doing calculation of the cost of unpaid care work. If we had to pay back women who are doing all the household chores, how much these women would have been earning, and how much will the government earn for these women earning, and how much will the government, for example, and entity will be able to provide for other service because these women are earning. If you're taking all these women to get into a labor force and earn a wage income, and all of them to have social security and medical cover, how much will that mean to the government, to the society? So the calculation has been done. FAO have done a research, and they documented that women could have tripled their yield and harvest if they have been in position of leadership, if they empowered, and if they are part and parcel of agriculture transformations. So the evidence is there that we are losing a lot. And of recent past, we have seen, for example, when we are battling the pandemic, the countries that have been led by women, they were doing way better than countries that have been led by men. So there is evidence on record on the quality of women leadership. And to be fair, even those evidence that assumingly doesn't exist or can be challenged, no society would progress if more than half of its people are not in a position or are not recognized an equal member of the society. It just cannot happen. So it's for everyone good. We do believe that not only patriarchy hurts women, but it also hurt men. The standard for patriarchy and burden for men are also high. And that's why, for example, as Femnet, we do run a men-to-men program. And part of that conversation is to get men understand that the system doesn't serve them as well. And it is on the advantage to start challenging the system of patriarchy and oppression. Because I think to bring it home, let's face it, men are, for example, expected to have a best house. They're expected to have a nice car. They're expected to pay for this. They're expected to pay for that, because that is the ideal of the society. While you are in an economy which is shaking and cannot attain that, the level of mental health into men and frustration is high. And because of that, they translate that to anger, to aggressiveness, and they end up violating and abuse everyone near them, right? So we have said, and we continue to say, the system of oppression doesn't work for men, doesn't work for women, doesn't work for business, doesn't work for government. All of us lose if women are not equal members of the society.
We agree that in this journey, for us to make progress, both men and women ought to come on board and have a conversation.
Allow me to just add something that might appear a bit contrary. You see, to me, a leader, characteristics of a leader should not be looked upon from a gender perspective. I believe when we're looking for a leader, we're looking at characteristics. Is this person able to make decisions? Does this person have integrity? Are they honest? You know, we're looking for characteristics that can, to be honest, they can even be found in a dog. You understand? So you need to be able to isolate some arguments such that when you're saying we're looking for a leader, I do not subscribe to the ideology, even if there is evidence that women leaders have actually proven to be better quality leaders than men leaders. True, there could be evidence. But I would like to talk about the issue on leadership on a perspective that when you're looking at leaders, you're looking at the characteristic that this person brings as a good leader, in which case then we are isolating the gender element. And if we were to be honest with ourselves, there are people who would stand and identify themselves as women, others as men, others who, you know, we're in 2021, who don't identify as any gender. Will you now start saying, men leaders are horrible because it has been proven over the years? She said it herself. The only proof we have on leadership in men is that exists, because actually a majority of the leaders that we've had in different industries are men, simply because we've had a very patriarchal system. So, you know, when you take that evidence and then you take the exceptions of the few women who've happened to go to those leadership positions and say, look, there's proof that women leaders are better than men leaders, I think that's where now we differ. Because for me, I would rather say, look, there's evidence that this person here is actually not a good leader. The person, not the gender.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's the problem with approaching that argument, because when you go to areas like Kisii County, that argument stands. They will tell you, men leaders have been proven to be the best because we simply have never had any women leaders. So, and then now when you come in and say, guys, you have to get women leaders because women leaders bring so much to the table, I don't believe it should be approached like, it should be approached that, listen, leadership is not about gender. So when you are looking for a leader, these are the things we are looking for. And if these things happen to sit on a woman or on a man or on a person who doesn't identify themselves with whichever gender, that is what your focus should be on. But because otherwise it creates this silent war.
But are we empowered as a society to think that way? Even the women themselves, when they go to ask for these opportunities, the first card they will bring on the table is that I'm a woman.
And that's where we go wrong. That's where we go wrong, because no one is going to go to the ballot just to elect you because you're a woman. People will go to the ballot to elect you because of the way you made them feel. When you're talking about boardroom wars, people will not just say, tumechoka na wanaume, every other time we have a chairman, now we want a chair lady, so they pick any other chair lady for the purpose of gender equality. No, people will actually be like, you know, does this person bring leadership to the table? So when we're approaching the issue of leadership, I choose, and this is a personal, I'm actually very intentional on it. In fact, when we are in any position and I have some sort of influence to push an agenda, I am very categorical that, you know, I'm not going just to push this gender equality motion just so we can say now we have more women than men, or now we have equal men. And, you know, like now the idea of having one woman senator and one man senator in every county, which is being fronted by Building Bridges Initiative. You know, I think it's a step forward, but then now you ask yourself, the quality of the people we're putting there, then you ask yourself, this one woman who's being put there, are they just being put as a body count? Are they being given authority? Do they have enough autonomy so that they can be able to, you know, influence change? Or would you rather that I go to the political parties, I forget about putting seats for women, I go to the political parties and ensure that the political parties start fronting strong women to actually get elected? Because at the end of the day, we know a nominated woman and an elected woman who is more influential in those places. You understand? So that's, for me, it's really also understanding that, yes, we are on a journey to getting to the place where we can say women have equal rights and they are equally on the table. But how we get there will determine whether this journey was worthwhile. In terms of, if we get there just by saying, we are going to fight, you must give us seats, but then you're given seats that have no influence. Then you're given positions that are looked down upon, such as the women representative seat, which is looked down upon. Then you're given formulas to nominate women just because, okay, fine, you know, let's nominate women, we are going to do this in every county. Then at the end of the day, when you sit back and you're like, actually, now we have 620 women.
But what are they doing?
In the National Assembly. But then when you go and talk about issues such as how we are approaching maternal deaths and things like that, they're not still being, you know, looked into. When you go on and check, you know, what was the agenda here? Why were we pushing women to go to the National Assembly? If still the problems that we are facing as women, gender-based violence, issues on affordable healthcare, as you know, for maternity and whatnot, issues such as empowering and ensuring that the girl child is educated and is not married off. If we have 600 and something people in the National Assembly, but still we remain with the same statistics on the issues that we are facing now, are we now going to say, now we have reached a place where we have reached the gender equilibrium, but then you look and it has no impact whatsoever? So that's why for me, when you're approaching the issue on leadership, I'm very intentional to remove the gender out of it. What I'm actually intentional on is, if I see a woman that has the leadership skills that we are looking for, and they have come out and they are pushing their agenda and they want to they're actually passionate about leading, of course I will be biased, not because they are just a woman, but because, hey, listen, here's a woman, but who also is competent enough to go out there and compete with these other competent men. Yes.
Very, very strong point there, Gloria, right? It's not about the body count, it's not about the gender, it's about the quality of leadership that you bring on board. So if we do not have such a woman, I'd rather we have a man who can deliver on that, right?
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, actually.
Okay. So,
but I'll tell you, you can't say if we don't have such a woman, they're there, they exist. The only thing, they need to be boosted and pushed and told, don't be afraid, come out. But they exist. They exist in equal numbers as them. If anything, we have more women who are competent. The only thing is we need to now get them out. But then they shouldn't be looked upon such as, you know, we're just electing women. Guys, let's just elect women, you know.
Oh, okay. When I see your body language, you have something to add on to that. That was powerful,
I wish I could say no. That I don't have anything to add, but I do. I think there are a few things that I really want to contribute to the debate. One is the is the construct of leadership. Leadership by itself is a very masculine thing. Like, it has been constructed as the thing that only men can do, and it has a masculine title, right? To date, if you had to affirm that you were a leader, whether even in your office, you have to be tough, you don't have to smile, you don't have to be because we are taking what we know of men leadership, that they have to be brutal, you have to be this, you have to be and that's the quality of quote-unquote leader. And that's why women are seen that you are not qualifying, because I can be a leader and I can still smile, I can still laugh, I can still be a good person. I don't have to scream on top of my voice to be a leader. I don't have, so the actual construction of what a leadership is and who is the leader is biased and is gendered and is masculine. So that is one. And because of that now, we are judging women based on men categorization and definition of a leadership, which is wrong. So that one. And two, I want to just to shed light on the quota system and why the quota system has been implemented and adopted in most of the country. One, there is evidence that people learn by seeing, for example. So the first option, when we recognize that women who made more than half of the population are nowhere in the leadership, a person who embodies a women's body will look at leadership and feel that's not what I can do. Right? So the first intention of the quota system is to break that and allow women to see themselves. So to open a space where women can lead and be role model to other women. So when I'm seeing Martha, I say I can also do that because I have seen an example that women can be leaders. So that was one function, and should not be underestimated, the power of just having somebody. I'm a Muslim, for example. I come from a place where my community will tell me we don't see us in these spaces. Yeah? So the powerful representation in itself is of absolute importance. Yeah? That one. And two, the intent of this special seat and quota system was also to give women now sort of apprentice, to give women an opportunity to learn by doing. So to get to the system, know how it works, and then the outcome of it, we expected that there will be women who are getting through the special seat, get the experience, the knowledge, the etiquette of how the system works, and then go out now and vie in the contested position. I will give, if I have to give, for example of Tanzania, we have 30% special seats. Yeah, if all women who are in the special seat, for example, will be there for 2 terms, and then go out and contest. And then another group of new women coming in those special seats. In the coming 20, 30 years, you will have 50-50 or above, because you have machinery that has been granted, which should nurture you, and you go out now, you compete because you know the rules of the game, you have been there. Yeah. So that is the second question. And I think, to me, it is important to also check our biases. We often over-analyze the qualities of women leaders. We are led by men who are absolutely incapable of leading, who have no skills, but we never question. Yeah? When it comes to women,
No,
you
if
have
look at
to.
If you look at the crop of leadership in its entirety and look at the male leaders, you'd
Yes.
say like we have no male leaders.
No, I'm not saying we like in totality, but I said
There are some.
in that leadership, we have men. Yeah, we have some men who they might not have degrees that is required. Yeah, they might not have but they are, because they're men, like they're. How should I say? How they've been scrutinized is not the same as how women have been scrutinized. When women you are getting in leadership, people want to check your bio. Do you have this degree? Have you been this and this? Have you been this and this?
The playing ground is not
And they
leveled.
went as further as how many times have you been married? Have you drink beer? Have you, like the qualities and the checks and scrutiny is extremely high because we expected women leader to be sent as well. So the same mistake, for example, a man leader will do. When women leader commit the same mistake, it will be grave mistake. So to me, the question of bodies, women bodies, and in all their diversity, I should emphasize, is important because I feel a society that the leadership has to present the composition of the society. If any leadership doesn't reflect the composition of the society and how does society, because we see our society from our leaders. If I don't see this person, this group, I know there's something structural wrong.
All right. Mwanahamisi, I want us to shift gears a little bit and talk about the progress we have made. Yeah, we're talking about improving the status of women and allowing them to find it fair, let me not say easy, find it fair to get into these opportunities. I'll cite a good example, the 2/3 gender rule. I feel like that was our biggest test as a country to whether we are ready to embrace women leadership or not. If you ask me, I think, should I give us a scorecard or
you know, first,
have we passed that exam or we failed?
I want to correct your language because you have fallen into the trap of this patriarchy that's going, because you said, have we reached a place where we are allowing women to... You know, the idea of allowing means that it is me who gives you the authority to now go there and prosper. So, you know, every time, and you'll notice I have...
But there has to be some level of goodwill.
The idea of allowing women to do anything.
There has to be some level of goodwill. Let's not ignore the power of goodwill.
That's what we need to change. That's the culture. You know, my fight in this gender progressive development kind of thing is completely from a very strange place. It's from the cultural mindset, and as she spoke, there's this vision that we put that, you know, this is a leader and we've made it so masculine. So I would rather spend time fighting those small things that are actually indoctrinated in us, such as language, you know. Sometimes fellow men that I work with or business partners, sometimes even my husband would say you know, the word allowing. I say, you know, when you say, no, but I allowed you. No, you did not allow me, because that means that first of all, you are the person in authority to first tell me that you can exist. Now I have allowed you to be here.
She's a tough one,
and
this one. Yeah?
If I let those kind of terminologies pass, what I'm saying is I am allowing for our younger people to be cultured into believing that first you must seek permission to even be. So the first thing of, you know, are we creating a conducive environment to allow the women? No. Are we creating a conducive environment such that the women can look around and think, yes, this one, I can thrive here, so let me get in. It starts with the language, by the way, and then it starts with the things that people see, you know. When I walk into any meeting, this is something I have never said in public, but when I walk into any meeting, you will, if you know me, I'm very strategic at where I sit. Because the first thing that people assume leadership is you must take the seat of the leader. And if that is what our society has been, you know, carved to think, then I am working with those assumptions. So if we've been carved to think that the leader sits in that chair that is facing this one, now wengine wanaangaliana, that is where, as a woman, when I walk in, that's where I go to sit until someone tells me, stand up, this is not your seat. I say, why? Because, you know, that's how you start changing the perception.
Yeah, true.
And
the little things.
I can tell you, I cannot recall once where I've been told to stand up from that seat. Even when I have sat in the wrong seat intentionally, knowing that this is the seat where the chairman of this caucus is sitting, nobody will dare come to me and say, move from this chair. What they do is they just take up another position. So I think the things, the wars, the battles that we should be fighting I don't think it's these battles of, you know, the combative ones where it really looks we are out for the other gender. I think it's the small things. It's the terminologies. It's the appearances. For instance, I as a woman who's in active politics, I barely ever wear trousers. Not because of anything, but it's like, you know, I'm a woman, I will be in my skirt, I will be in my dress, you are going to embrace this as leadership. I barely ever leave my house without lipstick. Not because I can't survive without it, but you know, it is, I want to get it into your head that I'm a woman. And you know, there's no running away from that. You're not going to suit me up and put me in trousers and make me look tough and what. You know, I've had people in my team when I'm down in the grassroots tell me, you know, this dress makes you look not authoritative. And I say, it doesn't matter, because we are not selling a dress here. I'm going to speak to those people, and then when I speak to them, they'll be shocked about this young girl who's coming here looking like a girl. So the battle that we should be picking as women is not being combative with the men, but simply understanding, you know, in order for you to fight a system that exists, you know, you can't come with a new system. You know, you're fighting gender inequalities and injustices, eh? You can't come with your system of feminism and think you will win in that system. What you need to understand is, this is what we are fighting. These people here think, being a leader, you have to look like this. Now, am I going to look like that? No, but seeing as I have this position, I am in a position of leadership, I will make it so obvious for them that, imagine, I am the chair of this caucus, I'm wearing a skirt, I'm putting on my lipstick, and I'm sitting here.
Gloria,
you know,
I'll take you back to the question then. You know, our failure to embrace what is enshrined in the Constitution, the two-thirds gender rule. Are we being genuine in this journey of gender equality?
Who was implementing the two-thirds gender rule? You know, that brings me back to getting allies. These men are allies in our fight. You come with your two-thirds gender rule, then you take it. It's like you have come with this solution for the victims, and then you take it to the oppressor. You understand? You've drafted something very beautiful, and imagine I'm the victim in this, and then now I'm taking it to my oppressor that, listen, this is the system I want you to execute. And now that person has not been sensitized. They are not part of this journey. You understand? Those men in the National Assembly, in the executive, in these offices, in the Senate, they have never been part of this journey. Can you speak? I can't even think of one elected male leader who has gone out to walk with women when they said, my dress, my choice. I can't even think of one elected MP who has come out to run around with us when we are saying we are tired of sexual harassment. I can't think of one person. Now, how are you going to draft? No, because if he had that goodwill,
and
I can tell you,
the Garissa town MP also, Aden Duale, has been very pivotal in
when they brought that discussion in the National Assembly journey. Where was he? Where was he? You know, there's that thing of appearing to look like I am assisting so that I don't get the backlash. But when we were having that discussion in the National Assembly, where was he? Where were they? You see, so for me, the thing we don't understand as women in this cause is we need allies. Unfortunately, the allies that we must make are men. Unfortunately, the people who are in those positions that can actually influence the cause of this journey are men. Now, am I going to fight you in your office, or am I going to come and sit down with you and tell you, Your Excellency, this is where it has been going wrong. This is happening, and this is what I beg to get from you. Once I get that ally, that goodwill from this person, I can tell you we would not be talking about gender parity and nominations of women, because at the end of the day, you are working with the system to get them to correct all those injustices on gender. Yes.
Let's break down these injustices, because I ask myself, what countries like Rwanda did right that we are not doing for women to actually be ahead in terms of leadership compared to us? What is it that women go through, the injustices that women go through, that would really sort of act like bottlenecks for them not to thrive, for them not to get into these leadership positions? Let me start with you, Mona Hamisi.
I think the bottleneck has so many, and part of one of the bottleneck, I think, is the construct of the patriarchy. Just to add my spice a bit in the two-third composition, because the two-third it has not been about specifically women. It just said any gender should not be more than two-third. It's just now it happened because the parliament is majority men, then that sort of like benefit women. If all and all, I do believe feminism can overthrow the system. So when that happens and you have majority of the member of parliament women, possibly it will be men now benefiting from the system. But the blindness of the idea that this cannot happen, and this is our position and rightfully position, and we need to protect it. I think that's part of the problem, and that's why I feel the reconstructing of that reality is extremely important. To reconstruct the reality where all of us know that we do have a role to play, and all of us have equal rights and equal opportunities. So I think that one. And two, there have been the progress that have been made in a couple of years. We have seen, for example, girls' enrollment in school has been very low. But 25 years later, after MDG and now SDG, most of the countries are recording high level of young girls' enrollment in a primary school. I think now it's at least 50-50, but it continues to drop as you go high. It is projected that in the coming 10, 15 years, these young girls now, which have been enrolled in high number in the primary school, will then transit to secondary school, will then transit to universities, and that will have a ripple effect in the leadership position. So it will be better if we work and we address structural challenges. So education is one of them. Attitude towards women leadership is the second. But third, it's the policy itself. And I think to your question, while the intent of the policy, and I do feel women of Kenya fought so hard for two-thirds. It was not given to them. They fought for it. In the lead-up, in rewriting the constitution, the work that women of this country has put in that constitution was immense. And it was an example to the women across the continent on how much you can achieve. And I strongly feel it was not a women agenda, because the constitution has been voted to be a constitution. So everyone who was in that constitution was involved. And that's why we had it in the constitution, because if it would have been for women only, it wouldn't have been in the constitution.
All right. I want us to hear from the horse's mouth. Gloria, very briefly, you are in this particular journey to becoming a leader in this country. Politics is where you've actually just, thrown yourself to. How has your experience been?
First of all, I believe politics is really where you can have the highest impact, unfortunately, as a leader. Politics influences policy, influences governance, it influences everything down to the price of the sanitary towel. So I was very intentional on how I want to get into leadership, and I chose politics because I truly, truly believe that is where you can have the highest impact. My journey so far has been, I will not lie, it's been very, very difficult. It's been characterized with a lot of challenges. And I'm not talking about just challenges of resources as a woman, but I'm talking about getting that mentorship that you need in politics. I'm talking about getting accepted into certain spaces. I'm talking about having to fight to be visible in a conversation where clearly you're the only contributor, but still you have to fight for that visibility. It's been such a challenge on that front. But then now when I talk about venye wanasema enda kwa ground, toka kwa TV station, uko kwa ground, down there, when now you are actually going to sell your agenda, your manifesto to the people there. The first point of rejection, unfortunately, is from the women. So because the culture that they have been brought up in is, you're actually wronging. You're wronging us by standing for this seat because unajua mama sisi hatufanyi kazi wewe umetuharibia. So, I'm starting from a point of sensitizing the women that actually, you're a leader in your house. Do you know that you're a leader in that house? Because you're the one who knows what people are eating, what people are dressing, which children are going where, which school. You know you're a leader in that marriage because you're the one who organizes everything down to the bedroom. We know that. So I have to come and tell them, actually, what you've been doing your whole life is you've been in leadership. So this is just another kind of element of being in leadership. And so when I started, it was so shocking for me, not shocking in the sense that I'd be rejected by the same people I'm trying to represent, but shocking for me in the sense that the magnitude of patriarchy down in the grassroots is insane. Now, after a couple of months of sensitizing people and doing the advocacy work, it gets better because, you know, in general, Kenyans are very pragmatic. In my county, Kisii County, we are very pragmatic. So, you know, the first thing, there'll be this shock that a woman is vying for anything that is not women rep. But then the more they listen to you, the more they see the activities, because I'm doing a lot of activities in terms of social enterprises. I've set up a lot of businesses in my constituency. I'm working with schools even before I get into that seat. And, you know, I'm rallying resources from my friends, from the international community, from NGOs, just to, you know, look into issues such as access to healthcare. Some places don't have water, you know, trying to get NGOs to go there and dig boreholes and things like that. So when they start seeing your actions and then they start feeling your impact, then they stop seeing you as a woman. And you see, unfortunately, I have chosen to be the experiment, you know, because it has not been done before, and I've chosen to be, so I cannot complain about, you know, breaking those stereotypes.
All right.
So,
Gloria,
I want to say,
yeah, as your final
as my
word,
final, because I have to leave.
She has to step out.
I really have to leave. And actually, the funny thing is that I have to leave because I'm trying to ensure that we have more women elected in the meeting that I'm going. I think this is the idea when we are talking about being a woman, and particularly in politics. You have to go in knowing that it's a very, very, very green area. It's not been ventured by many, particularly from my county. And there's no time, we actually don't have the luxury to be sad. And we don't have the luxury to cry when you go online and read those things. And we don't even have the luxury to you know, have a moment to yourself, because it's like one job after the next, one challenge after the other. You just have to come knowing that, you know, my focus is come 2022 and I'm in office. I already now, by the fact that I've declared, so many other women have started to declare, you know, that they are vying. So for me, whether I win or I don't win, but I will win, I'll tell you that, I've already influenced so much change just by the 1 year that I've been there.
All right. All the best, Gloria.
Thank you very
Gloria
much.
Roba, a
Yes.
political strategist, and also she's vying for the Member of Parliament. Which constituency?
Bobasi constituency.
Bobasi constituency in Kisii County. All the best with that.
Asante sana.
All right. We're now going to be crossing over to the Kenya School of Government this morning. There is a National State of Crime Conference 2021. Currently speaking is the Interior Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i. Let's listen into what he has to say.
Who have been working with us in this endeavor. And while on that, I want to thank you, Vice Chancellor, University of Nairobi, and thank all of our colleagues from the Academy for continued collaboration with us. Societies that grow and do better are those that build frameworks for collaboration. The executive branch of government in and of itself cannot do much without support from those who are in the knowledge industry, as it were. Knowledge and research sites in institutions such as this one here, the Kenya School of Government, the University of Nairobi, and other universities that are involved, several non-state actors, research institutions that are here, some of them funded by international development organizations, are critical role players and partners in the work that we do. And on my own behalf and on behalf of the ministry, because the Crime Research Center is now part of our Ministry of Interior, I want to take responsibility and thank you very sincerely for your continued collaboration with us, and assure you, board and members, that we will continue to support you as you do this. This is the way to go, and this is the way we are going to strengthen our society. And I would encourage more of this. The Inspector General of Police has stepped up training of the police. For the first time in the history of our country, we begin this year to train a new cadre of graduate police officers in the form of cadets. And we want to take them to a higher level because we want them to make use of the research that is happening here in designing ways and means of approaching policing work in the country. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution has actually developed a fully-fledged training institute for prosecutors. And later this week we are going to preside over the very first graduation ceremony out of that, which means that coupled with the transition that the KDF has done in creating the National Defense University, we are slowly but surely building a knowledge-driven culture of supporting and buttressing the work we do in the security sector, as it were. That is the way, because crime is becoming dynamic. We ourselves must remain at the head, at the cutting edge of what happens by depending more and more on research, on information that is collected, on real data, and things that happen to be able to secure our society as we go forward. So I want to assure you wholeheartedly and from the bottom of my heart, colleagues who are here from academic institutions and research agencies, that you will find in us very worthwhile partners and committed people who will do our part very sincerely in fostering our relations, in working together with you, and in ensuring that as we keep going along, Professor Charo and the colleagues from the University of Nairobi, that we will surely build a systematic and institutionalized way of managing crime in our society and building a better society as we go forward. And this is the thinking behind His Excellency the President's decision to bring together the government chemist, the Crime Research Center, and now the forensic laboratory facilities of the DCI together in one Ministry of Interior, so that we are not stretching out to the government chemist to look for support. We can put these resources together. It's defeating the institutional challenges to effective delivery, because in most cases, bureaucracy is the foremost enemy of effective delivery of services to the people. So when we pull together, such as we have, the government chemist, the forensic facilities and forensic lab of the DCI, and the Crime Research Center, now add to that the resources we get through collaboration with the University of Nairobi, with several academic institutions, we can only become stronger, better, much more focused, and better informed in handling crime in our country. Now that said, I associate myself fully with the remarks that have been made by my colleagues who spoke before me. And I want to thank you for this work. And I hope that as we go along, we are now going to develop a body of reliable statistics and knowledge that will show us the trajectories we are traveling in terms of, fighting crime in our country. Where are the new areas of crime? And what are we supposed to do about this? Let me point out something. Much as we are looking at some of these issues today, and whenever you outlined some of these, hate speech, intimate partner, violence, and so on, when I was at the Ministry of Education, we were also dealing with the elements of the development of radicalization and how it seeps through to educational institutions, especially the universities. And that some of our universities and institutions of learning were becoming, centers of interest for radical elements that, want to recruit for terrorism training outside the country. We need to look at everything across the board as we go along. We are developing our systems, and for the last 10 years, for example, one thing that this administration has done, and one thing that President Kenyatta has done, is invest very heavily in capacitating security institutions. We have changed the ratio of population to police. We have changed the capacity, in terms of equipment and resources for the security sector. We have improved through, what President Kenyatta introduced as a multi-agency framework of managing security. Information sharing and management is much better. We have improved the deployment of technology, and we are now seeing increased investment in technology to fight crime as we know it. But going into the future, we still have to tackle some of what you may call traditional challenges that we have had. This week, everyone, and that's where I'm going to start my remarks, my substantive remarks. Everyone has been telling me, I've seen newspaper editorials, columnists, Macharia Gaizo, and everybody telling me we must go, Matiang'i must go beyond the tough talk in fighting crime, fighting the violence in the by-elections and so on in the country. I am ready to go beyond the tough talk. But look, my friends, because we are all citizens of this great country, time is here for us to have a comprehensive and candid conversation one with another. Law enforcement and fighting crime is not the responsibility of the police and the security sector institutions alone. I am not shirking. I am not running away from our responsibility. We are ready to do our part, and I can guarantee you we are absolutely ready to do our part. But we also must stop this hypocrisy with which we live as a society. We are good at this pretense. You know, we're very pretentious people in our country. You know, many of our people, and you see this even in public leadership, many of our people are just doubles. You know, people tell you one thing, they live another. They preach wine, they drink, alcohol. The horrible pretense that you see around. The truth of the matter is this: law enforcement does not begin and end with the police. So what am I supposed to do if I'm going beyond the hard talk? Murder them or put them on before firing squad. We are a constitutional democracy by choice. Our responsibility is to facilitate a meeting between the criminals and the law. And we've done that very effectively. The Inspector General will tell you and will give you the statistics. We have strengthened our research. In fact, in the last 3 years, and I can ask you whatever to confirm this through statistics, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations has done more arrests, has been more successful in breaking cartels, especially contraband, criminal cartels that are moving drugs around, than ever before, because of insisting on ensuring the law is done. What happens to these people? They are presented before a magistrate who releases them promptly on 10,000 shillings bond. Look, and then challenge me on this. The cases involved in examination cheating, when I went to the Ministry of Education in 2015, some of those that we are dealing with in 2016 have not been concluded to date. Some people were involved in violence, in criminals during the 2017 general elections. The cases have not been heard to date. We're facing another election next year. We arrest these people, we take them before a magistrate, the DPP arrives there, and they are promptly released on 20,000 shillings bond. The case will be mentioned in November. And then the first hearing date is 2nd of February 2022. Then the next hearing is September 2022. And we keep doing that yo-yo, and that is why these fellows will go in there, they are released, they will go to slap more people. Yeah, you wait and see. In the next cycle of by-elections, they will be there, slapping more people, transporting goods. So, as you tell us to do our work, tell others also to do theirs. That is the point I'm saying. Let others do their job. Surely, if you are a magistrate, and then I'm not questioning anyone's job, how can you release someone 7 times? Some of these people we have taken to court, we're taking them the 7th or 8th time. You are on bond 7 times. Surely, as a magistrate, if you care for your country, can't you say, no, you are not the type of fellow who should release to the public, since you don't even respect the terms of your...
All right, that is the Interior Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, talking tough there against crime in the country and efforts that the country has put in place to eradicate this menace. This is happening at the National State of Crime Conference 2021, happening right now at the Kenya School of Government in Kabete. The theme for this particular conference centers around tackling the dangerous drift towards crime and violence in the country. So a lot of discussion going on at that particular conference. We'll be giving you more details in our subsequent news bulletin. questions. In studio, we have been talking about women in leadership and addressing just tracing the journey of women and leadership in this particular country, looking at some of the issues that women are currently dealing with as they attempt or even get to these powerful leadership positions. And I've been having this conversation with two ladies in studio, Gloria Roba, a political strategist who had to step out, but we are continuing to have this conversation together with Mwana Hamisi Sigano, the head of programs at Femnet. Thank you so much for staying on, Mwana Hamisi.
Thank you so much.
All right, so I like how solution-oriented this conversation has been, and even putting women on the forefront and putting the spotlight on women and telling them what they need to do themselves to solve this particular problem. And I just like us to, as we are just about to climax this conversation, sort of look at what needs to be done and who should do what if the conditions are to improve and have a leveled playing ground for women, so that we go from what Gloria was saying earlier, allowing women to thrive, but actually creating an environment where women can actually stand and look around and find an environment that is friendly, that is conducive for them to take up these positions. So first of all, I'd like to know from you, if you were to look at the people who play a pivotal role in this journey, who would form part of that particular list, and what is their responsibility for addressing the problem that we have been talking about?
So I think the spectrum is so wide, and I will I hope time allow that to at least to mention some few of others. But I think it starts with the family level. I think we are as good as our families are. We don't expect a person who have been raised in a very abusive home to be a good leader, for example. So we have a role to nurture our people, our children, and our family member to be a good citizen to begin with. Right? And to exercise those democratic value at a family level. If we don't start that at a family level, you don't expect to have a democratic value at electoral process. For example, if at the family level, as the father, you are very dictatorial, like it's your way or highway. Children doesn't, and they growing up to know, like, this is what leadership is. So when I get that position, this is what I should do, because I have seen it manifesting at that level. So I think as individuals, all of us, we have a responsibility to nurture an equal, loving homes, and to ensure all of us are part of that conversation. That one. But importantly, if you are nurturing, you are grooming a young man or a young woman in your household, it's important as well to start aggressive work to help them unlearn some of the things that we have been learning. And then that take us to the work that we need to do to ourselves. We have a responsibility to start unlearning the things that we thought they ought to be true, yeah? Because most of those things, they shape how we think, they shape how they shape how we engage in the conversation, they shape how we interpret things. Because I would tell you something, but based on your experience, your interpretation will be different. So there is a work not only to create awareness, and us, for example, as an institution, but also as feminists, we are moving now from creating awareness and doing an intentional work of getting individuals to unlearn their biases. Because unless you unlearn your biases, then you are creating a space. So you have to take something out to bring something new. What we have not been doing right is, what we have been doing wrong is we just bumping in new information without challenging the old information that is within us. So that is the work that we need to do at a family level. And then there is a work that needs to be at, for example, institutional level. In school, for example, why are the head boys the powerful than the head girls, for example, right? So those need to be challenged, and we need to create an environment where the position cannot be, like the head boys to be the ultimate power and head girl to be support of the head boy, for example, because that showcase how the society is structured. So in the institution which nurture and groom, we need to be intentional, on how we do that. The same in the university politics. That is where it started.
So the equality needs to start at the young levels of where the young leaders are brought up.
Yes.
Okay.
So from home, how they are nurtured at home, when they are going to the nursery school, how they are nurtured, and even, for example, speaking in our curriculum, you'll see textbooks and pictures. When they portray this is the mother, they'll show a mother with this certain stereotype, like whether the mother in the garden or is in the kitchen. When they show the father will either be leader or the father will all be in the office or will be in the living room or in the car. So those subtle stereotype where kids are starting being feeding kids from the kindergarten, for example, the colors, the option that they're given, all of that shape who they think leadership could be and what they can do. So if we look at the education system, how we teach, how we portray women's leadership, and how we create that space and remove the barriers, it's really important to be intentional in removing barrier. And one of the barriers is violence. To date, if a woman stood up to vie for any seat, they know that all of their life, for example, will be in social media. Everything. And women have to make choices. Am I ready for it? Is it worth it for everything to be in public just because they want to lead? So those unfairness need to be addressed, but also not just violence in social media, but physical violence. As I said, the politics are very masculine. So how do you create an environment where politics could be free and fair? We have this debate whether at all does it have value to get women in a very corrupt, violent, where to get a position you have to kill people, to get a position people need to be injured. We have seen some of the neighboring countries, and it has been a repeated electoral violence is becoming like a repeated phenomenon. Like after every election year, in every election year, people do expect that there will be certain level of violence. So how do we change that narrative as well? And I think the work now with the electoral commissions on how they make it safe and how they make it fair, the work on the political parties to know that the political party machinery need also to be equal, because if you don't have representation from the political party, it's unlikely that you'll get representation and you'll get nominated. And most of the politicians will say the biggest brutal elections or nomination is in with the political party to allow you. And that is not what is in the spotlight.
All right. Thank you so much for doing that, because you've really taken the responsibility from the top and brought it down to the lowest level, which is the family unit. That is where it starts. Nurturing these women and even these men to know that people are equal in the society begins at the family unit, because mostly it's all about we're looking up to who is at the top, what do they need to do to make the conditions fair for women to thrive. But I like how you've approached this whole concept. I'd like you to just give us your final thoughts on this conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. It's a conversation we are still going to pick up on the other side of the break, but let me give you your chance to have your final thoughts on the conversation.
I think, as I started saying, in all this conversation, of course, as a feminist but also a gender expert, we work and we have done a lot of research to build a body of evidence on why this and why that. But I opened my thought when you asked me, what do I choose to challenge? And I said, I choose to challenge this narrative that we need to justify every now and then, why women has to be given this opportunity, why shouldn't the other gender justify as well? So to me, I feel leadership, it has to be it's a right for everyone. As a citizen, you have a right to vote and to be voted.
All
Your
right.
agenda shouldn't determine. And if we see that one gender is overwhelmingly represented, I think there is a structural issue, and all of us need to take responsibility to address those structural issues.
All right. Mwanahamisi Sigano, the head of programs at Femnet, thank you so much for creating time for us.
Thank you so much for having me.
My take home from both you and Gloria, let's go away from allow, give. Women can actually dress up and show up and take up some of these positions.
And they have history of doing that.
Yes, they have done it.
Yes.
And one woman who has done this is Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, the woman representative of Migori County. She's in studio. She'll be joining me on the other side of the break to give me more insights on how she has managed to thrive as a woman leader in a county that is still addressing some of the issues that have been termed as violations of the rights of women and girls. What is she doing? How has she sailed through? And what is in her entry for how to address some of the challenges that women are going through? What can she tell women in terms of how they can thrive in leadership? That coming up after this particular break. Do stay with us. This is News Check.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Your dream of a united India will be fulfilled very soon.
This is a lie, Father.
The truth is in front of everybody. And the truth is that you pushed Sushim.